Tiny friends, welcome back. I'm still working on accessories for the vintage camper, and I wanted to create a breakfast scene from when I was a kid. So I chose this Cap'n Crunch Berries box. I found this box doing a Google image search. It's a free image, but it really isn't a template image. It just happened to be that the whole box was opened up. So that's pretty much like a template. This one I think is from the 60s, but it'll do. I was more of a Fruity Pebbles type of girl, but my brother was definitely a Cap'n Crunch kid. I shrunk it down to two different sizes. So one size is a 1/12. The second size is slightly smaller, which I'll be using in the camper. But I'll be making both sizes today because I thought it would be fun to create one of these sets for another tiny friend that most of you all know as well. Before I put this box together, I'm going to give it a couple coats of Duraclear satin varnish. I found this brand to be the best for sealing inkjet printies. I always have a problem with my ink bleeding, but the Duraclear varnish works the best with 0 to minimum ink bleeding. So I don't have to worry about my ink bleeding. Right now, I am applying this very lightly since it's the first coat. So I'm just basically feathering it on. And then I'm going in to smooth out any brush strokes. I'll let this dry completely, and then I'll add a second layer. Once the first layer dries completely, your image is pretty much sealed. You don't have to worry about your ink bleeding. You can go ahead and add a thicker layer if you'd like. Once the second coat dries, I'm going to do the back side as well. I printed these printies on a cardstock paper because I needed them to be thicker. But I heard that the best type of paper to print your printies on is brochure paper. Brochure paper is already coated. It gives a nice professional look to your prints. So I definitely want to try that in the future. Even though there's no guidelines to this, you can still basically see where you need to create your folds. Now it's totally preference on whether you want to score your folds or just go ahead and fold your creases. I think that scoring gives you a cleaner fold. I'm kind of a messy folder, so I choose to go with scoring. But the downside of scoring is that it opens up your paper. So you may have to seal it or go in with a matching color to fill in the white. It's totally preference and up to you on whichever way you like to fold your little printies. And because I'm using cardstock, which is thicker than regular printing paper, scoring the paper makes it a lot easier to fold a thicker paper. Okay, I've got it all cut out and I'm just pre-folding before I actually glue it together. And it's pretty simple. This is a really simple little box to put together. I'm just going to use tacky glue and just put a little bit of tacky glue right along this side tab. And I'm just smoothing it out nice and even with my toothpick. Then I can go ahead and close the side. I'm just using this little tool here to help flatten it down and stick it together. I'm going to let it dry completely before I actually close the bottom, but I'm going to leave the top open. So I'm going to also work on this little one and put that together as well. Okay, my side is nice and dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and glue down the bottom by adding some glue to the side flaps first. And then I'm going to add some glue to the longer flap that's going to be on the inside. Now I can go ahead and close the outside flap and just glue it all together. Again, I'm using this little tool to kind of press everything down. And now I have a really cute little box of vintage Cap'n Crunch berries. This box actually came with the little tab on the top, and you can see the slit. So I just cut that little slit open. So if I wanted to just close the flap, I can just stick that inside. But again, I'm going to leave both of these open. I just wanted to show you that that was an option for this specific image. To add some more realism to this box of cereal, I'm using this sandwich baggie to create the bag inside the box. And I'm cutting it slightly larger than the box, both on the side and the top. I am also using the corner pieces so that I only have to seal one side. I'm going to use a lighter to lightly singe and melt the side together, and this will close the bag. Next, I'm going to use some 3-in-1 glue to glue the bag into place. I'm adding this on the bottom of the box and on the sides of the inside of the box. This will help keep the bag open. Then I'm just using my handy tool to place the bag inside and press it down along the bottom and the sides. Now there's a cereal bag inside this cute little cereal box. So all I have to do now is make some cereal. To make some Cap'n Crunch and berries, I'm using this dark red and pink to create a berry color. And for the yellow, I mixed a dark yellow, light yellow, and a kind of like a beige. Since my baking tray is still occupied with everything that I'm doing for the polymer clay hands, I decided to use a piece of aluminum foil. The pieces are going to be so tiny that I can just pop this sheet in the oven. So I rolled out what I needed, and now I'm just cutting some clean edges. I'm using this clay tool with multiple wires to add texture to both sides of this piece. This is definitely not my favorite thing to do. It's very tedious and time consuming, and I do not like tedious. Next, I'm going in to create some lines going all the way across the piece. Because the tiny cereal pieces do have lines going all the way across, and they are pretty textured. Hard and crunchy, but kind of sponge-like. I'm going back in to add a little more texture to both sides, but I'm not going to be so precise this time. Next, I'm just going to cut some very tiny strips. And I'm going in the opposite direction from the previous lines that I've created. Last, I'll cut some tiny little rectangles. They're a little bit bigger than squares. Okay, I've already baked these pieces of cereal and they're ready to be used. Now I'm going to go ahead and create the little berries by rolling out a snake, a very, very fine, thin snake. Super tiny. I'm going to use this foam piece that has some glue on the bottom, so it's kind of a little hard, but it still has a lot of texture. And I'm just going to roll the little berries on that. Hopefully it gives the little berries some texture. Now it's time to put this bowl of cereal together. I'm going to use a thinner UV resin and some titanium white earth pigment powders to create some milk. I'm definitely mixing up way more than I'm going to use. And that is because it's hard to gauge this. I'm not using a little container like I would normally use. So I definitely don't recommend using a piece of foil or something. Get yourself a container when you're mixing your resin with a powder or a color. Okay, so I'm going to begin by adding a little bit of milk to each bowl. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of cereal and a little bit of milk and a little bit of cereal and just keep layering it, curing it in between each layer. And I can't forget the little cereal spoon, so I'm going to add that as well. In the end, after filling the bowls, I'm going to put them in my larger resin cure to make sure that all of the resin is fully cured and hard. Okay, I think they're pretty cured, but some of the cereal may not be stuck in the resin. So, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to mix up a mixture of clear tacky glue and water, and then just pour a little on the top just to glue down any loose pieces. But I don't want the bowl to look like there's a clear layer of water sitting on top. So I'm just removing any excess and cleaning the outside of the bowl with a cotton swab. Okay, here's a good look at the finished boxes and the bowls of cereal. The back side says that there's a free toy inside. And I think this one is like a wiggle, jiggle something. But remember when the cereal came with free toys? It was so exciting for us kids because cereal was targeted towards the kids because that's who ate it the most. I looked so forward to getting that toy. Like, remember, you would just dump out the whole box just to get the toy, and you were told not to, but you do it anyways because they always put the toy in the cereal bag and not outside of the cereal bag, which I never thought made sense. I think the last toy that I took out of a cereal box was maybe 2018 after my first grandson was born. I believe Trix or Rice, it was Rice Krispies, had Rice Krispie cereal spoons that were straws. So they were the spoons, but there was holes in them so that you can drink the milk. And I was so excited to get that because it had been so long since, cereals had a surprise inside. So I had to go buy a few boxes. So we ended up with a few of the spoons before that actually ended. Okay, one last item is going to be the carton of milk. And in my day, we had missing kids on the milk carton. So I decided to put missing kids on these milk cartons. And since this is a 70s project, I chose some iconic kids from the 70s from one of my favorite TV shows as a child, which is the Brady Bunch. They had plenty of kids. So two of their kids are now missing. So one of the cartons has Bobby Brady, and the other carton has Jan Brady. And this was just a random selection. I figured Bobby being one of the youngest and Jan being so irrelevant. Poor Jan. It's always Marsha, 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 isn't it? Okay. For the milk carton, I was able to find a generic milk carton template under a Google search. And then I went into my Photoshop, shrunk it down, and actually added the missing person side. So that I created myself and then just put it onto the side of the milk carton. I did seal the milk cartons first, like I did the cereal boxes, but I think that was a mistake because these little milk cartons are really tricky to put together. Some of the folds have to go the opposite direction, and sealing them first made them a little bit more difficult to fold. I did fold several of these, trying to find the best method on how to put these together. And I found that the ones that I did not seal first were a lot easier to put together, and then you can just seal them afterwards. And they worked out perfectly fine. But I did figure it out. So this one is one that I did seal first, And the one that I chose to keep in the end was one that I folded before I sealed it. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold down the side flap, add some tacky glue, and go ahead and seal the side together first. Now, the most important thing about these little milk cartons is to let this side dry completely before closing up the bottom, closing up the top. So I'm going to add a little clamp to both ends and set them aside to dry. I was really impatient with my other cartons, so I really didn't let them dry completely before working with the ends. And I learned that it made this whole process a lot easier by letting that side panel dry completely before going on to the bottom and the top. Starting with the bottom, I'm just gluing down the side flaps and using the flat end of my tweezers to kind of just hold it into place until it really catches. For the top part, I'm just going to slowly and carefully bring the sides in together. So I'm just kind of folding it very carefully and slowly, kind of just giving it a head start. Now, my side panels want to kind of buckle in, so I'm just using this wooden stick to kind of keep those pressed out a little bit, but they still seem to want to buckle in. So right now, I'm just kind of working on trying to keep those side panels straight and keep them from buckling in. I'm just trying to do the best I can. If they buckle in, I guess that's just what they want to do. I'm also helping the creases out by just pinching them closed a little tighter. But once I get it to where it wants to fold with ease, I'm going to go ahead and glue down just one side. I want the other side to open up, so I'm just adding a little bit of glue in between these pieces, and then I'm going to clip them closed. Again, letting them dry completely so that I don't disturb it when I pop open the other side of the carton. Once it's dried and I'm able to open the side, the first thing I want to do is just open up the flaps straight and just kind of flatten them. And then I can go in and pull out the middle with my tweezers and just give it a little press. And now I have an open carton of milk. Okay, tiny friends, that completes today's project. I hope you all enjoyed it and had a fun giggle about the missing kids. If you've enjoyed this project today, please don't forget to click that like button and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about this in the comments below. I do still have a few more accessories to make for this project, but I'm going to put a pause on the accessories so I can begin working on the interior of the camper, and I'll go back to making some more of those accessories later on in the project. And I did make one more milk carton that I just could not resist. Since I am a fan of the Netflix series Stranger Things, I just finished watching the new season, and in the beginning, one of the characters is actually on a missing persons poster. Now, this show takes place in the 80s, and I really feel like the writers missed the opportunity to put this character on a milk carton. So I took that opportunity to do so. 11, aka Jane Hopper, is no longer missing in the show, but she has made her way to a miniature missing milk carton. I'm going to include this one in with the set that's going to my tiny friend, because I kind of have a feeling that she may be a Stranger Things fan as well. And what's so great about this missing milk carton The number on it is actually an active number. And if you call that phone number on Jane's missing poster, you will hear an urgent alert letting you know what is going on in this 1980s Indiana town of Hawkins, recorded by the Hawkins Police Department. So cool and super fun. As always, I'd like to thank you all for watching and welcome all my new subscribers. Thank you all so much for all of your support. If this is your first time visiting and would like to see more of my miniature creations, please click that subscribe button and don't forget to hit that top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project so you don't miss out. Until next time, tiny friends, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you all on the mini side.